Welcome everyone. Welcome to this beautiful session. This is E-Teacher Colloquium, the second edition of the E-Teacher Colloquium. I'm so excited to have every one of you here. We have the Colloquium section, we have the Applied Digital Skills section, and also the question and answer. So every section or every part of this meeting today is very, very interesting. And I want to welcome each and every one of you, for all the teachers that have made out time to come. Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to officially welcome you to the second edition of the E-Teacher Colloquium. And I wish there was a way for me to, clap right now and welcome all of you and express my excitement. Now, as we move on, I like to touch a little bit on the theme before I hand over to the next speaker. Now, you are aware that when we're talking of redefining education in Nigeria, what we are saying is there has been a pattern that has been followed for a while that needs to be changed, right? We need to change the pattern that the strategy or the engagement methods that we give to our educational system. And from my little research, or how I would like to put it, there are 7 days in a week, and out of 7 days in a week, a child spends 5 of those days in the school. And just not to bore you too much, for my calculation, in a year, a child spends up to 10,800 hours in the school with a teacher, with an educator. So the power of an educator goes beyond what we feel it is. It goes beyond what we think or imagine it is. In fact, it is my belief that the educator is the educational system of a country, of a community, determines the outcome of that community. It determines how the people in that community will think. It determines how they will approach their life, their work, their business, right? So ultimately, the educational sector determines success of a country. So it is possible, it is right for me to say that the educational sector of the country in Nigeria, for example, I am in Nigeria, is the reason why Nigeria is the way it is. At some point, every child or every adult that you see today was a part of an educational system, right? Had an opportunity to be mentored and impacted by these teachers, right? So we're trying to see a way to really, shake up things, and I'm just going to be moving to our speakers immediately. But before I move on to the speakers, I want to point out this. I want to read a quote by Sadhguru. It says, "Teaching should not be a profession, it must be a passion." It said, "Only then can education move from imposition of facts to exploration of truth." Ladies and gentlemen, having said that, I want to bring up to the stage our next speaker, Elaine Cunningham-Walker. Now, a little bio about Elaine. Elaine is the Forbes featured and multi-award winning CEO of the marketing and media consultancy Good Morning Africa, which has interest in education, women in technology, and business and investment in African startups. Elaine's mission is to raise African leaders for the next generation, and also women who can level up in the business and corporate world. She believes that she can do this through opportunities and collaboration. Joining us all the way from London, United Kingdom, Elaine will be helping us understanding the heart and character of an educator and the importance of redefining how we perceive education in Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, join me as I welcome on stage Elaine Cunningham-Walker.
Thank you so much for the introduction. I can see Nancy on here, Sunday on here. How you doing? Hi, everybody. I think that, just that massive introduction has made me feel like I'm quite humble. I've got all those accolades, but I'm quite humble and I haven't achieved what I want to achieve yet. But thank you for that. And I think that the 15 minutes that you've given me is probably not enough to help educators in the room reshape their thinking in Nigeria and how they can get the best outcomes out of the children that they sit in front of. There was a really interesting quote that I read, and it said that the fact that you worry about being a good teacher means that you're already one. So a lot of times teachers think that they don't have the capabilities, but I firmly believe that every educator in this room is who they are because of their innate gifts that God gave to them, and they can go out and they can impart and motivate and inspire leaders of our next generation. Now, how many people in here, I mean, I was going to say you can tap your mic. I've been on Clubhouse for too long, tap your mic. But how many people in here are a product of a good educator that they had in their life earlier? For me, there are certain subjects that I loved because I loved the teacher. The teacher believed in me. The teacher saw talent in me. So I remember I had an RS teacher who said to me that, you should go into psychology or something like that. And I was thinking, psychology? I'm from an African family. No, we can't be doing that. We need to be doing medicine, law, engineering. Don't talk to me about those kind of things. But what I think I want to do, and I want to establish in these next couple of minutes, is to tell you that you're an educator because, number one, you have the gift to change nations. Just like Joshua said, you have the ability to change nations. And how do we change nations? We change nations by instilling the right values, the right belief systems into these children that we want to take that inevitably are going to be running our country. And I speak about Nigeria, but I'm talking about globally. They're going to be running so many things globally. And this is what I tell parents, because it's not just the teachers that are the educators, but parents are also educators. So it's really, really important for you to understand that what you carry in your hand is so important, that anything that you say to a child can either make or break them. There was also another quote that I think Nelson Mandela had. I just want to get it on I'm trying to operate so many different digital systems. How many of us suffered with the WhatsApp outage yesterday? It's the WhatsApp outage made us all really look at how we communicate with people. And being an educator means you have to be an effective communicator. What are you trying to teach these children? Ultimately, it's not just the subject. It's a whole principle. It's a mindset. It's a way of carrying yourself. So as an educator, know that you have influence. You have the ability to motivate, and you have the ability to inspire, and you also have the ability to tear down. So your words as an educationalist make such a difference, whether you're going to make a president, make a CEO, or make somebody who has bad, serious self-esteem issues. Think about that. The responsibility is in your hand. Nelson Mandela said that education is the most powerful tool which you can use to change the world. Education is not just about academia. It's not just about the maths, the physics, the chemistry, the biology. Those aren't the only way. We get educated through other subjects, through the subjects that we don't talk about. How many of us were ever taught to negotiate? How many of us were ever taught to present ourselves? So we find that a lot of African children have got all these accolades, but they don't even know how to have a conversation in the boardroom. This is all part of education. It's not just about, can I answer all the questions? It's not just about that. It's about, how do I have emotional intelligence? Do I have the ability to affect people? Do I have the ability to negotiate with people multi-million pound deals? And that comes from day one. Do I have the ability to present myself in a way that when I speak, people sit up and listen to me? That's what being a powerful educator is about. But I think that in my closing, I've raised two very powerful quotes. And it's very important, the kind of responsibility we have as educators, that it's not just about dishing out information for people to learn and to pass exams. It's about mindsets, where people want to go and how people want to change the narrative of African educators. That's really important, because African educators tend to have one way of teaching, which is visually. We know that there are three ways of people learning: kinesthetically, visually and audibly. And I think that that is something that as educators in Africa, we need to learn to do differently. Thank you so much for having me, Joshua. I hope I said enough. I'll be on later for questions. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, Elaine. I mean, that was a short but very. My notes. This is my notes. My notes is full already. I mean, I hope you have a notepad. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll go ahead to introduce our next speaker. I'm intrigued about this next speaker. Nancy Taiye Aragbaye. Nancy has always been an advocate for those who cannot advocate for themselves. Fascinated by how communities and cities grow, Nancy is hyper-focused on developing solutions to transform impoverished communities to thriving environments. As a former educator, she discovered a gap in the educational system, a desperate need for formal business and leadership development. In response to these challenges, she launched strategic solutions and developed the Black Model, a comprehensive strategy to business sustainability. Ladies and gentlemen, for more than 10 years, Nancy has designed, developed, and implemented new programs and ideas to help businesses succeed. She consults nationally and internationally to provide fresh ideas and strategic guidance to companies to obtain their desired outcome. Nancy is known for her unique perspectives and strategies to help businesses refocus, recenter, resume, and increase efficiency. Our overall objective is to empower business leaders across Africa and in the diaspora to serve as a change agent. Joining us from all the way from Atlanta, Georgia, United States of America. She will be helping us connect the dots between education and entrepreneurship. Ladies and gentlemen, join me as I welcome on stage Nancy Taiye Aragbaye.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. I tell people I'm a consultant now, but I'm an educator at heart. When I consult, it's like I'm teaching business leaders. Everything that I do today has stemmed from my experience inside of the classroom, and children have been the one to inspire every single program that I have today. And so before I even get started, I want to thank you for your commitment as an educator. Teaching is not easy. Sometimes I even think the teaching position is undervalued and it's overlooked. But like Elaine mentioned, we are actually the individuals that are building nations and building our leaders of tomorrow. So before I start, I want to share my story. I was an educator for many years. Always been passionate about just communities, individuals. As a matter of fact, when I told my mother I was going to be a teacher, she looked at me and she was upset and she said, I'm supposed to go to law school, because that was my plan. So she almost shamed me, as a matter of fact. And so I said, no, I'm going to do this program. It was a Teach for America program. And I'm thankful that I did it. But in my experience, I learned so much that the children have taught me. And there was one particular child, and I'll never forget him. The boy came over to my classroom. He got kicked out of his math class. And I asked him, I said, why are you not doing your math work? He said, I don't want to be a doctor. So in my mind, I said, we already failed him because he couldn't make the connection between math and his real life. So then I asked him, I said, well, what do you want to be? He said, I want to be a barber. And then I said, okay, what if you can open your own barber shop? And that day transformed him. Now, I actually have pictures of this child who would walk in the hallways with books. That has never happened in his 10 years of his life. This child was 10 years old. He was reading at a 5-year-old level. My daughter at the time was reading better than him. He transformed his life. He was walking around with books in the hallway, and he was able to grow his reading level 3 years in a matter of 3 months. So this was a transformation. And yes, I believe I was a phenomenal teacher, but that transformation did not come from my education, I would say how I taught. That transformation came from dialogue. That transformation came from a connection that I had with the student. That transformation came from inspiration, motivation, and I planted a seed that transformed his life. And that is what the power of an educator is. It's so important for us to look at ourselves beyond curriculum. Yes, the curriculum is there. We have our targets and we have our marks. But I think the most important thing that an educator can do is to have rapport with children, have rapport with students. Because when you have that rapport, that trust is there. It's a relationship that's developed. And that's any relationship across the board. With our significant others, with our friends, the more we have a relationship, there can be trust, and we now listen and cling on to the word that they say. Rapport building is the most critical skill a teacher must possess, because that rapport building will allow you to plant so many seeds within children. Every single person on this platform today should view themselves as a change agent. We see so much as educators. View yourself as someone who has the power to create the environment and create the system and create the Nigeria that you want to see tomorrow. We all have the power to do that. So when we begin to look at ourselves as change agents, we can start to think about what is needed inside the classroom, right? So as an educator, I'll give you an example. I knew that the curriculum was not enough. And I would do things, I would bring real world connections inside the curriculum. I would figure out, how can I get these children? I even created, I implemented a passport. We created passports out of paper. I would go on YouTube and I would show them different countries. And I would just tie our experiences and our lessons into real world, because I knew this was something that was missing. I knew I had to bring cultural awareness to these children. So whatever the need is for your kids, you are a change agent, therefore you're a problem solver and you are an innovator. You must bring solutions into the curriculum that are not yet present, because the government, if we wait on the government, we're going to be waiting forever. So you have to understand that the first thing is change starts with you. The next thing I want you to understand is that as an educator, we should constantly be seeking professional development. And sometimes that professional development that is needed, it may not come from the school. That professional development may not come from the state government. You have to be the one who seeks it. Therefore, utilizing resources. An avid reader, always looking at best practices, following the schools, the best programs, even beyond the United States. The United States, okay, our education system is okay, but I would look at Finland, I would study the UK, I would look and think about how are they doing things in other places. And even though my principal was stubborn, and even though the system as a whole was not doing what I was doing, I knew that there was a need to figure out how to do it better. Therefore, I made myself an avid steward of education, and I studied. You as educators must do that, okay? So there's YouTube, there's books, there's the internet. We have access to information. The third thing I would say, which when I left the classroom, I now became a director of a nonprofit. I was able to design curriculum and implement it across the state of Delaware. But I understood the need for 21st century skills. I said, if I want our kids to compete in a global society, they have to be prepared. And unfortunately, education is a global crisis. It's not just Nigeria. Across the world, education system is failing children. So I said, okay, what is missing? Problem solving. Critical thinking across the board is missing from children. Collaboration skills, peer-to-peer collaboration, as well as global collaboration. And there's a technology gap, typically in impoverished communities. So I knew I had to figure out how to do those things. And so anytime I had an opportunity, I would support educators. The activities that you do, we have to think beyond, like Ms. Elaine said, the visual. right? 2 + 2 = 4. This is how you do trigonometry. We have to think beyond that. And we have to start being innovative and incorporating these 21st century skills inside our day-to-day lessons with our children. The last thing I would say, the most important of all is the need for leadership development. Mr. Joshua mentioned that the Nigeria today is simply a reflection of the education system and the curriculum of today. And that I will agree with. It is up to us as educators to build up our children and teach them leadership skills. We must teach them empathy. One time, my daughter, she made me so frustrated. I just wanted to just backhand her. But I decided to have a conversation with her. How many times, Chichi, have I spoken to you today? Okay, she now repeated, okay. Should I have to speak to you that many times? She said no, okay. How do you think I feel? Because I've had to speak to you that many times. Getting her to understand my feelings and my emotions. She said, sad. I said, no, I'm not sad. I said, try again. She said, frustrated. I said, yes, I'm frustrated. So now what should I do now? What should your punishment be? Because I've spoken to you and now I'm frustrated. So that is allowing her to understand my feelings. And the more that we can do that with our children, it's only going to happen through dialogue. Now, let me say this. Nigeria is very interesting. There's pros and cons. One thing I know, children are well behaved for the most part. They discipline children. But I think sometimes it's at the extent where we take the voice of children away. No one's voice should be taken away. We have to have more dialogue with our kids, speak to them, allow them to share their feelings because those feelings are real. And teaching is beyond the math curriculum and the reading curriculum. We have to teach them to understand humans, which I think that is currently what is missing in our leadership, which is just a reflection. Our government leaders have no empathy. If they had empathy for the nation, it wouldn't be the way it is today. So that's number one. We have to teach leadership skills. Empathy is one of the most important. The second thing is integrity. This is something that I always taught my children, doing the right thing when nobody is looking. So sometimes I would leave the kids in the classroom, even during a test. And I would come back and the kids, I don't know, it's so interesting. I would have a conversation and ask them, who actually obeyed what I said. And the kids, they would be honest. Even the ones that did wrong would tell me that they did wrong. And that I appreciate because I was teaching them in that moment accountability. I was teaching them the meaning of integrity and how important that is. Integrity is another skill that our leaders are missing in government, right? So the more we can teach this to our children, then you become to develop adults who are empathetic. You develop adults who have integrity. And the last skill that I would say is the most critical, and I think is missing, and this is just human nature in my opinion, is the need for service. And again, once you have empathy, once you have integrity, it's easier to serve someone, right? Thinking beyond ourselves. So how do we teach service? When I teach entrepreneurship, I even teach business. Business is service, right? We're doing things beyond ourselves, doing things for other people, but this is not taught to children, not formally at least. And hopefully your parents are doing it at home. But again, sometimes as parents, it's do what I say or you're in trouble, and we're not having enough dialogue with our children, which is what is needed. So in closing, I just want to reiterate how important it is for you as an educator. I don't know the numbers, the 10,000 hours that you spend with children. It's a lot of days. You're there Monday through Friday, pretty much to midday. You have so much influence on these children, but it's not going to happen at the most optimal level if we're not building relationships. And that's what I say is the most important thing. Before I teach anything, do the kids trust me? Half the time, the kids listen to me. They didn't listen to other teachers because they knew I cared about them. And even when I punished them, they understood I was punishing them for their own good and for their own development. Therefore, the next day, they want to come back and try again. And so it's nothing but learning. That's what this is. The conversation allows children to learn at a deeper level and at an emotional level. And we have to understand teaching is beyond the curriculum. It's beyond math and science. We have to do emotional development, and we have to do this mental development if we're truly going to build an education system that will reflect the nation that we want, the Nigeria that we want to be. So that is my note to you. Again, I don't have much time. I can speak on education for so long. I'm so passionate about it. Yes, I'm a business consultant, but I know that there was a gap in the education system, and I knew that I was the change agent, and that was needed. And so education, business education, is something that I'm pushing across the globe, and I want schools to adopt and governments to adopt because it is needed. So in closing, again, my name is Nancy Aragbaye. I am a consultant, but again, I'm an educator by heart. I hope this session was helpful. The 15 minutes that I had, I tried to shorten it for the sake of time. Thank you, Joshua, for having me.
Oh, wow. Wow. What an amazing, this is amazing. This is amazing. This is amazing. Please remember to ask questions. Put your questions on the chat session and also your comments. How do you feel about this thing? Right? Do you agree? Don't you agree? Do you have a certain idea about it? Let us know on the chat session. Now, the next speaker, Sunday Ayorinde. I hope I got that correctly. Sunday Ayorinde. Okay, Sunday, popularly known as Mr. Ayo, has worked with different organizations such as schools and banks, right? He is deeply rooted in real estate and IT firms. Sunday regularly engages educators in different trainings, including digital skills training. He is the founder of the Edu Resources Hub, an e-commerce platform that provides relevant educational materials. Joining us all the way from Abuja, Nigeria, Sunday will help us understand why we must leverage on technology for sustainable growth and effective education. Ladies and gentlemen, join me as I welcome on stage today for the third speaker, Sunday Ayorinde.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be with you all.
Welcome, Mr. Sunday.
I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, loud and clear.
All right. My name is Sunday Ayorinde. I'm going to take you from Abuja. I want to discuss with us on leveraging on technology for growth and sustainable development. It's a very key tool in the hands of educators in our days. But unfortunately, in our own part of the world, many educators have, do not have requisite technological skill to advance their career and their school to the next level. Maybe due to a number of things in our country or in Africa generally. And these have come to the fore during the 2020 COVID-19. You can see how many schools were running eteacher, so many educators are a little bit confused, trying to adapt with the new normal, so to speak, and everybody trying to comply and find a means to reach out to their pupils. Meanwhile, those in advanced world have started long ago and have been doing so many things, using technology to reach out to their students, their parents, and other stakeholders in the education sector. So it's very important for us here in this part of the world, Africa and Nigeria in particular, and educators to rise up and get necessary technological skills to advance our career and our school to the next level. Now we talk about leveraging on technology for growth. There are three key words in that topic. There's leveraging, there's technology, and there is growth. The three of them are quite important. Leveraging, as we all know, is to take advantage of something to get a better result. Let me put it that way in a give us a definition that everybody can come to terms with. For example, you have a machine, you have let me say a printer or a computer. You use your computer to type faster and get better results, get quality output, instead of using your hand to write, or perhaps writing on the board as we used to be in those days. That's what you call chalkboard, blackboard, and all that. This day you have interactive electronic board that does not use any kind of chalk or black or white board, and communicate effectively both between the teachers and the pupils. Everybody has their devices on them. So leveraging simply means we are taking advantage of a particular thing to achieve a task more easier within a short period and with better result. It multiplies the result. We cannot compare the effect of technology on our daily living. Without technology, so many things will be left. We will not be able to achieve so many things in our days today. The second word there is technology. Technology is the ability and capacity to produce and operate a device, platform, or anything to do a task easily, timely, efficiently, and effectively with greater result or output. That is my own way I will put what technology means. I broke it down to the level that every one of us can understand. For example, now we are all here. We are about 17 participants on this platform. If you ask me why are many teachers not here, the major challenge they have is because they do not know how to operate, either how to connect or know about these applications, how to use it. They don't know, and they find it difficult, even nobody to sometimes they even to learn. Just like one of us speakers said, that you have to look for a way to teach yourself. You don't have to wait for government. But some people in our own part of the world, they must wait for their employer to do everything for them instead of taking the initiative to go and learn. So the challenge is that some teachers, some educators do not want to advance themselves in the area of technology. And believe you me, the future of education depends on technology. There is no alternative to it. I mean, most state governments now in Nigeria are embracing technology. I learned Lagos State the other day want to conduct common entrance using CBT. Now, if all the state has to do that, it means you as an educator, you have to teach your pupils how to use the devices in order to get a result. I mean, to perform excellently in those exams. Otherwise, because they are lacking behind in those areas, they will not be able to meet up with their counterparts who have the exposures and were trained in the use of those technological devices and applications. Then the other one is growth. Growth is inevitable. In every man's life, in every organization, growth is inevitable. All of us here, in fact, 10 years ago, we were not where we are today. And in a few years to come, we will not be where we are today. So growth is inevitable, and every organization must embrace it. And for you to get better results in our days, you must embrace technology. I'm not sure Mr. Joshua used a hard copy flyer to advertise this training or event we are attending today. All these were possible with the use of technology. Reaching out from different places. We have speakers from UK, we have speakers from US, we have speakers from Nigeria, and we have attendees from different parts of the world. So technology make it possible, and growth is vital. What technology does is that it multiplies your growth. It multiplies your efficiency. It multiplies your effectiveness. There is no way a school who embraces technology will not grow better and faster than a school that stick to the primitive method of teaching. Even the kids these days do not want to learn the same way the older ones learn in those days. They want to be able to use those applications. They want to be able to connect with their friends in other schools. They want to be able to connect with their teachers, even online, just as we are now. Imagine somebody engaging his pupils right now, as we are doing, in some forms of teaching one way or the other, even in their various homes, and they are still learning. Imagine how excited those pupils will be to learn, even online, right in front of their computer and following through. So it's very, very key for the growth of education. And even as individual, technology is very critical. For those of us here, I believe we have some technological skills that are taking us here, but maybe for the sake of those who may not have, I would like to mention some basic skills that we educators need to have so that they can be able to make impact in their field, in their schools, on their pupils. One is their ability to operate computer and your phone devices effectively and efficiently to do most of your tasks with better results and less stress. Believe me, in Nigeria, we are still writing notes manually. I mean lesson note. Somebody still has to struggle to scribble things down manually, to write lesson note or lesson plan, what that is going to present in his class, and then pass it over to maybe the head teacher or the superior to review. Meanwhile, the technology can make this easier. As you can prepare your lesson note right on your phone using the right applications, passing it to your superior who review it in few minutes and return it back to you, and you are done with the preparation for that day. Within few minutes, you are done. Instead of sitting down, and most of the resources you need these days, they are available online. Get a computer, learn about it, sit down yourself, press all the keys, know what all the keys are for. You can learn by yourself. I learned it by myself while I was in school. I just go to where the computer is and begin to practice with it. So practice, and they say, make perfect. So without practicing, you will not be able to achieve that. Our teachers need to embrace it. Don't wait for your employer to push you. You push yourself and get it. There are various applications for online teaching and online learning. Many schools are not doing that today, and you try to encourage some of the educators and the school owners. They just brush it off. Why? They feel that maybe it's not in vogue in our own part of the world, but it shouldn't be, because these children, we are preparing them to compete with other children all over the world. Don't just look at them now that they're in Nigeria. They are going to compete. They are going to want to move out to other continents. They want to move out to other countries. So they should be able to do what other children in other countries have access to and are doing, so that they can compete very well over there. Then the third one I will talk about is ability to recognize various web and app icons. This is also important. So many teachers who cannot navigate their various applications. It's something I've witnessed with some of the educators I've dealt with or relate with. So they find it difficult. When you ask them, I can't do this, I say, go here. They say, where is it? Meanwhile, the icon is showing right on their phone, right on the web, right on the app. But they don't know. So it's important for them, for the educators, for all teachers, school owners and all that, to embrace the use of technology. Any applications, any device that will make your work easier, achieve result on time, make you more effective and efficient, should be what we should go for. We must not remain in the old system of teaching and learning. I thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to make my presentation here today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Ayo. I mean, you spoke my language. truly, you spoke my language. Thank you so much for that impactful session. The future of education, Mr. Ayo said, is dependent on technology. The future of education is dependent on technology. Growth is inevitable. A school who embraces technology will do better or will produce better kids than a school who does not. All right. So for the school owners that are here, I hope you are taking notes. This is from Mr. Ayo. Then the kids don't want to learn the old ways of doing things. And this is very, very important for you to note as a teacher. We've been taught in the normal way, all the hard chalk whiteboard and all that. The kids don't want to learn like that. I normally tell teachers when I speak with them, I say, a child comes to the school, or sorry, a parent sends the child to the school to learn ABC. The child actually comes to the school to play, right? So you need to understand how you can use those playful things, those enticing things to make education very interesting for that child. You are preparing the children to compete on a global scale. It is important for you to know that you are preparing that child. That child will become a teen tomorrow. The teen will become a young adult tomorrow, an adult tomorrow, will become the President Buhari that you are mentioning today. Buhari that you are mentioning today, Muhammad Buhari that you're mentioning today, was once in a school and was once taught. Those head of states, those leaders in those communities were once in a school. What did you do to help them? And more importantly, I want to draw your attention to this. Those guys that you are calling the hoodlums, right? You know, there's this term we use in Nigeria when you feel like someone is not doing so well. You say they are hoodlums, they are miscreants. You have a lot of funny languages for them. An unknown gunman or gunmen men, or whatever it is that we call them. Nigerians in the house will understand all the things that I'm saying. All these guys were once in a school system that could have shaped their lives better. They were once in an educational system that could have shaped their lives better, right? So it is important for you to know as an educator that you are so important, and this is why we organize sessions like this for you to understand that. And on the teacher skills, in a second, we're going to have a very brief second, just about 10 minutes, where we are going to just share with you very free teacher skills that every educator needs on productivity. We'll be jumping into another session where we'll be having just a quick productivity skills training for our educators that are in the house. First of all, it's important that you know this. Why did we choose productivity, right? We chose productivity because, first of all, every educator has, you know, when you ask an educator, it seems like they have so much to do. Like they feel like, how can I manage this? How can I manage self-growth? How can I manage my curriculum, innovation and all that? How can I manage all that at the same time, right? It's because you lack productivity skills, how you can use some simple tools that you already have to leverage on technology to become better and faster, right? Personally, as an organization, we help teachers learn these skills. So we're going to have a few seconds. We're going to teach you that.
Thank you very much for the introduction. I'll briefly be going to Google Calendar. Okay, now we're looking at how to organize our agenda using digital tools, how to be more effective, how to be more productive. Okay, so I'll share my screen right now. I'll be making use of an Android phone. Okay, a smart device. Why? Because most of us make use of this smart device in our everyday life. It's portable. We carry it everywhere, and we perform most of our activities on this smart device. Okay, so I guys see my screen? Is anyone seeing my screen?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay. So very briefly, I'll go to calendar. Okay, so this Google Calendar was brought out for us to create events, create tasks, and reminders. Okay, these events might be either for virtual purposes or for physical purposes. For example, once you get this app is known as Google Calendar. Okay, and what is just required is it requires your Gmail account, your Google account to sign into this particular app. Okay, so once you're signed in, first of all, once you've gotten it from Play Store, okay, using an Android device, then App Store using an iPhone. Okay, once you've gotten it, you make sure they are signed in using your Gmail account. Okay, so once that is done, you come here to verify. You go over to the navigation bar to verify that your account, the accounts needed, they are recognized here. Okay, so very briefly, looking at this, we have Google Calendar. We have various ways to view our calendar. We have viewing by schedule, by day, by 3 days, by week, and by month. Okay, so viewing by schedule simply means you created events, you created tasks, you scheduled reminders, okay, and what you just need to view, you need to view only these schedules that you've created. You don't want to view any other days of the calendar or any other days of the month. Okay, so what you just do is to tap on this schedule, and automatically it brings out all what you've created. Okay, these are events. This is combination of events, tasks, reminders, and so on and so forth. Okay, so but if you want to view your calendar, okay, just for today, maybe you have serious important tasks to do today, scheduled for today, and you want to see what you have for today. Once you click on day, it brings you to the present day. Okay, as you can see, we are in weekly E Skool Now weekly assembly. Okay, this is not it. I think this. Okay, this is another date. Okay, but to view the particular date you want to view the particular date, the event and task you have for that day, you tap on day, then 3 days by week, and so on and so forth, to view it on a broader scale, what you have for throughout the week. Now, this viewing by week is very important, especially for educators. Okay, why do I say it's important? The school system runs from Mondays to Fridays. Okay, so with this aspect, with this option of viewing calendar, you can see what you have for the whole week at a stretch. Okay, for example, now on my screen, what I have here is summer holidays. Okay, for example, let's say this is what I have from Mondays to Fridays. Let's take it to be what my normal school days. Okay, these are events. When is this event starting? You can see it's starting 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Okay, 1:30 to be precise. Okay, so this is to view what we have. If you have other tasks, other events, other reminders that are scheduled for today, you also see them here. Okay, so this is a very, very good way, is the best option of viewing calendar for educators like us. Okay, then we'll move over to the next item, which is creating events and tasks. Okay, so to create events and tasks, you just simply tap this plus icon here. Once you do that, it brings out options to create events, tasks, reminders, goals, out of office, and so on. Okay, so but what we'll be dealing with today is just events, tasks, and reminders. Okay, so now to create events, like I said earlier, events can be in two forms: either the offline event that is on site, or the fully virtual event. You can once you tap that, it brings out this page. Okay, brings out another page to fully edit this particular event. So I can start here now by adding a title. Let's say a very good title. Let's say event meet with a partner. Let's just say partner. Okay. Okay, so now once this is done, you move to the next one, which is this calendar. You tap on it, and it brings out the option. Let's say, for instance, you have multiple accounts on your device. Okay, it brings out the option to select the accounts that you want these events to be created. Okay, so I have COO at E Skool Now, Williams Favor, Gmail at E Skool Now, and so on. Okay, so the one I actually want is this COO at E Skool Now. Let's take that for instance. Then we now get to edit the particular date and time for this event. For instance, now let's say this event should be scheduled tomorrow, Wednesday, 6th of October. Okay, we do that. Automatically, it brings out time for the event to start and for the event to end. Okay, so you can either choose to edit it, or you can choose to leave it if the time is suitable for you. Then coming to what I said about fully virtual or fully physical meeting, we can see okay, before that we get to add people, we get to add guests. That is the people you want to be involved in that particular event. Let's say CVO. Let me just invite my chief vision officer. Okay, So I just invited Joshua. Once that is done, you can invite number of guests to any particular event. So once that is done, you click done, then automatically it brings out these guests. Okay. Then one very good thing about this Google Calendar, one very awesome feature about this Google Calendar is this suggested times. Now, what this suggested time does is it brings out the most suitable time for the creator of the event and for the guest. Okay, so if the guest has other events scheduled other time that particular day, it won't bring out options for those time. It only brings out the option. It brings out the option for the time that particular guest is free. Okay, for example, when my guest is free is 4:30 to 5:30, then 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock, then on Thursday, October, and so on and so forth. It just brings the it brings out options of times that are free, and also on your own part, it also brings out times. Okay, so assuming someone was fully occupied the next day, that is when you are creating the event, it won't bring out any option for this date. But due to my guest is free, is free, has some free time in his schedule, it brings out that time. Okay, so it's a very awesome feature. Then now coming to what I said earlier, we have the video conferencing Meet, that is like the one that we are in currently. Then we have this ad location. Okay, this ad location is just you apply it where you need to meet this person physically. Okay, let's say you guys need to meet at a conference hall, a restaurant, a library, and so on and so forth. Okay, this once you add location, you can add.
Have just 1 minute. You have just 1 minute to round up. Just 1 minute.
Okay. Try my best. Okay, so you can add the location. Is this this particular aspect is in collaboration with Google Maps, so you can just simply text in the location you need. Okay, so because of our time, I'll just skip that. Then color, any color of choice. Let's just say banana. Then description, what you want that meeting to contain. Okay, so you can add anything. You can add any text to that particular meeting. Okay, it's like what the meeting is all about. Then attachment, the file, whether a slide or a document, the file that you want to be available on that particular meeting. That is the file that you want your guests to see there. So that is that about that. So once you're done, there's something I skipped. I skipped a very important aspect, which is the notification. Okay, yes. So now once you're creating an event, the default notification the calendar brings out is 10 minutes. Okay, it tells you that it's going to remind you 10 minutes before the particular event. Okay, so but you can add your own notification, the one that is best suitable for you. Okay, you can add depending on when you want that particular when you want your smartphone to remind you of the event. Okay, so you can see options of times, day, and times. You can even customize it to the particular one that's suitable for you. Okay, so that is that about that. So once you're done, you tap on save. Okay, then it brings out guests. You bring out option to send emails. Yes. Okay, so you can click that, tap that. So automatically you have your event for tomorrow. As you can see, my event is already scheduled. So at that particular point, it notifies both you and the guest that you guys have a meeting scheduled for that particular day. Okay,
Right.
so there's not much time again. I think I'm out of time.
Thank you. You're out of time. Thank you so much. Thank you for that. That was your cue. All right. Because of our time, we're not going to continue with the. I hope that at least you've gotten how you can get on Google Calendar, create an event. Before you can stop sharing your screen now. You can get on Google Calendar, create an event, and invite guests to your event and make it colorful either ways you want to make it. Wow, it's been an amazing session, and this is our Q&A session. This is our Q&A time. Wait, I think Elaine is out. I hope she gets back as soon as possible for this Q&A session, because there are so much questions right now. So much questions. All right, I'm just going to be taking these questions one after the other. I still have Nancy and Mr. Ayo. Guys, again, I'm sorry on the applied digital skills that people was trying to teach you guys. We have a long list of videos on our YouTube channel that you can go and watch and follow these things. And of course, we will still be talking to you about the eTeacher course that you can have at your own pace. We have some of our participants here in the meeting. As I've been seeing them, they've been jumping in and out. Mr. Folahan has been a participant of our eTeacher course, and so many other teachers in the room as well. So we will tell you how that works after now. But first, we're going to take your questions, and we're going to allow our speakers answer your questions before we jump off this session. So first of all, okay, this was for Elaine, but she's not here. So thank you, Elaine, for the presentation. I don't know, maybe Nancy, you will help me answer this question. Thank you, Elaine, for the presentation. I have a question. How do you build confidence in a child that has esteem issues and as a result of words from the teacher? How do you build confidence in a child that has esteem issues as a result of the words from the teacher? So I hope that was clear enough. This is coming from Chioma Okaro.
Yeah, that's a really great question. Confidence building has everything to do with how you affirm someone, their views on themselves. When I do leadership training, I also talk heavily on self-development. So one thing that I typically do, because again, we have adults who lack confidence because they lack confidence as a child. And oftentimes it's the words that are used to bring someone down. And sometimes even at home, the parents think they're doing a good job, but they don't know that they're breaking that child down with words. So one, I would always say positive affirmation. You have to remind children who they are, right? What are the good values that they possess? And they should lead with that. I would offer, and again, this stuff there's so much training around the questions that you guys have. It's very heavy. These can be done over weeks and weeks of time, but quickly, something that you can implement immediately in your classroom. Have a day or a certain period of time in the day where you practice affirmation. So whether the child writes a positive note about themselves, or you can even have like maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes where the class together shares something nice about someone else. What do you like about this person? What good skills and qualities that they have? And the third thing I would say for a teacher, I always made time for one-on-one with my children. Whether it was lunchtime, I might have 3 or 4 children where I can have small conversation that has nothing to do with the curriculum. Or I would invite students during my personal meeting time so I can have dialogue. Those are the times where I pour into the child. I tell them the positive skills that they have about themselves. And we call it areas of growth. You can now say someone may have an F, not performing well. There's a way that you say it in a positive way. This is the area of growth. There's nothing wrong with growth. Everyone should grow. Everyone has a deficit. So the goal is to be better. Use those times to reframe how you speak with the child, put it and spin it in a positive way so they can view themselves better. That's the fastest way I can do it. But again, this stuff is heavy, and there's trainings for months that can be done around this stuff.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. That was quite to the point. I hope that everybody learned from that as well. All right. So this question also still goes out to you, Nancy. It says, how do you really get parents involved in education? Because you talked about this part. So how do you get parents involved in education?
So I think we have to, this is where empathy comes in, right? We have to understand and put ourselves in the parent's shoes. First of all, a parent who's working every single day, honestly, they may not have the time that you want them to have. It doesn't mean that they don't want to be involved in the child's education. So I think the first thing that we can do is figure out and understand the environment at home. Maybe the parent is working 2 jobs, they're gone all day, they don't have time to physically be present in the child's education. It doesn't mean they can't be present. So we have to understand what does presence look like for the family and to that parent, whether it's a note home to the school, maybe it's a WhatsApp message. I've always made myself available to where I can text my parents because I understood most of them were working all the time. Once you do that, I also, and this is not something that I mandate, but again, I did what I did for kids and for families. So I would make myself available around the time that they were. Sometimes I went to their church. Sometimes I went to their sports events for the kids. I went to the time. I went to the environments where the parents were, because I knew that they couldn't come to me. And I think it's just understanding people's situations. Presence for me may not be presence for the parent. And when we understand that, us as the leader and as the educator, we have to create an environment that is suitable for the parent so that we can work together. So I would offer maybe WhatsApp communication, maybe a note home to the parents to get them to know what's happening with their child, and maybe even offering yourself to go to maybe their church or wherever that they are. That's what I would offer. But every parent, I would say, would probably want to be involved heavily, but their environment and their circumstances don't allow it, and that's just the reality.
All right. Thank you so much, Nancy, for that. That was quite expository. I think we should just move on, Nancy. I think I should allow you react to that comment there. I'm going to read it out for you again. It says, "Thank you. Many kids come from less privileged homes. We know that, and many of these kids go to school because it's free, only because it's free." And oh, sorry, I now have to start admitting myself. Favor, just a second. Let me make I don't know. Or should I make you a co-host, Nancy? I don't know which. I'm just going to make you a co-host so that you help me bring people back into the room. Let me see. Where are you? So please, let's see. All right. Okay, because I'm on another tab. All right. Okay, so it says, I'm just going to recap again. So many kids come from less privileged homes, so many of them go to school because only it's free, and the rest of the parents that go to school struggle with the fees. It says asking them to get phones, tablets, phones that will give them access to the internet is out of the question. If some individuals and non-profit organizations can reach out to these kids and their teachers, it will go a long way in helping the kids compete favorably with peers in other parts of the world. So just to throw, before I let you react to this, Nancy, it's part of what we do at E Skool Now, as we try to reach out to teachers and also reach out to students as well. But we have just this capacity. That's why we need more collaborations in getting it done. But I'm going to allow you, Nancy, react to this.
So I think the first thing is just accepting the ridiculous truth, right? Like the reality is there are not financial resources available to have some of these basic needs met. And I think that is why I say you have to view yourself as the change. You cannot wait for anyone, any organization to come and save you and your children. And that's how you have to view it. So I understand that there's a lack of resources. That is the reality. What I will say, and maybe we have a separate training for this, there's something what I call collective impact, and it's real. There are people who, when you work together, more can be done for the betterment of mankind. There are ways to fundraise. There are ways to draft proposals. We live in the 21st century where we're able to have global connections, reaching out to people in the Western world and different African countries. We have to seek change, literally, like you, whoever asked the question, you are the person who has to write the proposal, reach out to an organization, maybe 15 of them, ask for the funds, lay out the plan, why it's needed, and what it will do for your kids and your community. That is what you have to do. And I understand wholeheartedly how you feel, because I've worked in a school that had no resources, no funds, but I wrote grants. I wrote proposals. I fundraised. I asked friends for resources to give the kids what they needed, because I will not wait on a government. I will not wait on administration to save me and my children. You have to be the one to do it. So maybe on a different day, we can talk about how to package the proposals properly so that people will listen. It's really interesting. This world is filled with so much money, yet so many people don't have access to it. But there is a skill set that if you learn it, you'll be able to raise money. And again, it's not enough, but it's a starting point. And that's what we have to say. Each of us are the starting points to see and create the change that needs to be. And so I just will ask maybe Mr. Joshua on another date, I can show you guys different skill sets that will allow you to draft proposals, form strategic partnerships from you as the teacher in the classroom, because that is a real concern and we can't ignore it. There's just no resources out there. So asking families to pay for phones and things like that, the likelihood of that happening is very slim, but we'll create another session that will address that and how to do it effectively.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Nancy, on that. It's very important that you know this, because I like the way you said collective impact, right? Collective impact is very, very important right here. And of course, fundraising is not something that is very popular, especially in Nigeria. It's not very, very popular, especially when you want to talk about education, right? It's mostly private institutions and they are into the business for cutthroat competitions and all that, right? So, but for those, because I have a similar question to these, someone saying government schools and public schools and all that. So you can learn how to write a proposal. I think I've seen that happen some other places in other parts of the world. Write proposals and send to big organizations that really have this money and spend their time in funding causes like this. And I'm sure we'll get back Nancy into the room one of these days to help us navigate how to do all this and build these partnerships and collaborations that we need for this. All right, so since Nancy, you're still my only speaker in the house, I'm still going to be throwing the questions to you. Okay, just two more questions before we go. How much of technology is allowed, and how much of technology is allowed? This is supposed to be for Ms. Ayo, but since you're here, how much of technology is allowed?
Well, I think the question is as much technology, the response is as much technology someone has access to. Technology is beautiful. It's what's allowing us here today. I'm all the way in Los Angeles, California right now, speaking to people in the UK and Nigeria. So if we really want to talk about competing in the 21st century, it is the understanding that technology is essential. So it's not how much is allowed, it's how much technological resources are there to offer the children. So as much technology there is, I would embed it into the curriculum as possible, from the different digital tools to writing, to even global collaborations, as much as you can do, to coding, whatever there is, you give them as much as possible, because this is the world that we're in today. That's a whole nother conversation as well. But I think probably where do we start is the basic tools such as like Google Calendar, right? My kids, I had Google Classroom set up. I stopped using paper years ago. I don't use paper to teach. My kids were typing and writing their essays. I will comment on all of their work, give them the feedback, they resubmit. This is what technology allows us to do. That's the real world that we live in. They were writing emails at 10 years old, checking, but I understand that there's a gap that's currently in Nigeria, but as much technology as you have access to is what you give to your students.
Wow, thank you for that. The much technology you have, you can embed into the curriculum. I totally agree with you on that, Nancy. So because we have a lot of, like I have an IT coordinator in the house and so many other IT coordinators in the house for different schools. And they will be asking these questions. They will be asked these questions when they get to their school boards or when they get to their school management. Why should we bring this, and how much of it is allowed? You know, a lot of parents have contested that you shouldn't even bring it at some level, but you can hear from what Nancy is telling you that as much as you can embed, put it in and let it facilitate. Remember, tech only facilitates, it helps facilitate. It's not the main learning, but it helps facilitate learning. So please embed as much as you can embed in your learning, in your curriculum. Wow, I wish I could take more questions, but I'm going to have to drop it here. More questions are just similar, but I'll still send some of these questions to Nancy and also Mr. Ayo and Elaine, and I hope that they will give me their candid responses, and I will send them back to you guys. It's been an amazing session. It's been an amazing session. I feel like, thank you. I can't really thank the speakers enough. Thank you so much. Thank you. Elaine is not here, but I hope she's hearing this. Thank you, Elaine, for coming in. Thank you for coming in. We appreciate you so much. I'm sure the teachers, just get on the chat session and tell me how you feel. Please send a lot of thank you notes to Elaine and Nancy and Mr. Ayo. Please thank them. Just get on the chat session and show them some love. Let them know how you feel about this session. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate you. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you for all the impact, and we're going to be reaching out to you immediately after this. Thank you so much, guys, and I'll call this a day. Wow, guys, thank you for all the educators that joined today. I am so grateful, deeply grateful, and I hope that the next time we're going to call on you, that this is going to be so much better. Thank you so much, guys, and I'm going to call this a night. Thank you, and bye-bye.